Well, welcome back. I am so happy to be here this week. Last week, oof, I got ill. I felt so ill last week. I think it was my body telling me to slow down a little bit. And I'm sure we can all relate as business owners where we are just always on the go, just on the go all the time, like the Energizer Bunny. I remember that ad back in the day. Just kept going and going and going until you just can't anymore. Your body just tells you, you know what, you need a break. So I think my body told me last week that I needed a break. So I am happy to be with you this week. Of course, we are going to talk about all things having to do with contracts, commercial, procurement, all the things that I love to talk about, construction. I know this is not about me. I know. It's about you. But can it be about both of us today? So, welcome back. Now, as you can see, I'm calling this office hours. I had some feedback, some wonderful feedback on my last session, and I'm so grateful and thankful for the feedback. Please bring them on. I love them, improving, making things better. And I got the feedback about the name of the sessions. And so I thought office hours, it's shorter. It's everyone knows what that is. So we're going with office hours. That was the feedback. So welcome to our office hours with me, Patricia Haywood, of course, where we break down the legal and strategic playbook for small and medium sized businesses as well as scaling businesses. And today we're going to talk together like we always do. I'm going to answer some questions. I got some questions and some insights from my last session, which I'm so excited about. I'm so excited. Anytime anyone watches or engages with my content, it does make me, feel good. And so I'm going to go through some of the questions, see how much we can get done in a short period of time. First one is I got the feedback and the question about the payment, and this was a lady, and she has a small business, and she was like, Patricia, you know, negotiate payment terms. She feels often like she can't negotiate her payment terms. She just feels like she has to take it or leave it. Okay. I completely understand because I'm a small business too, right? So I get it. I had those feelings and I still have those feelings. I still do. There are times, especially when when the business is just like plodding along, it's like on a line, just going along, and you feel like, oof, I just need this, I need a spike. I need a spike, right? And so you want this contract and you think, I'm just going to take it as is. I'm not even going to try to negotiate with these people. These people not about the negotiations, right? Uh, I still have it. I still have those times. I'm trying to grow my business. There are times when the cash flow could be better, or I want that spike. I want that spike. And so you feel like you can't negotiate on the payment terms. So I get it. But I'm here to tell you that you can negotiate on the payment terms. That feeling that you have is just a feeling. It's just a feeling that you have, right? And you're coming from a place of experience. For a lot of us, it's what we've experienced in the past, and we bring it forward in the now with us, and we'll probably bring it forward to the future if we don't fix it in the now. And so these are just philosophies or paradigms that we have because of what we've experienced, and we bring them with us, in is like our baggage we carry with us in each contract to each negotiation. So you can negotiate your payment terms. Whether or not they're going to be amended, that's a separate issue. The point is that you have the power to negotiate your payment terms. You do not have to sit down and accept them as is. You cannot determine what the outcome will be, whether or not the other party is going to accept it and see things your way. That's out of your control. What's within your control is you can sit down, read your contract, you understand your inflows and your outflows, you understand what you need to run your business and when you need it, and you can decide if this contract matches up to that expectation or that need. And if it doesn't, you can go back to the counterparty, your other party, and to the contract and say, listen, these payment terms don't work for me right now. Can we, what can we do to, adjust them? And I've had, even recently, I'm working on a matter for a client, and this is, in my view, a huge client, right? They're like a medium-sized enterprise. But from where I sit, in terms of the scale of my business, they're a huge client, right? I work with, all my clients are huge because, like, construction, I have a lot of construction clients, for example. And if you run a construction business, a proper construction business where you're doing public contracts, you're a big entity, right? And they felt like they could negotiate their payment terms. Imagine that. This business is turning over almost 40 million a year. And the client, I'm sat with the managing director, and he's feeling like he can't negotiate these payment terms. And I'm like, this is a huge business. In my view, it's a huge business, right? From where I sit, they're huge compared to my small business. And they feel that way. So the first thing I want you to know is that it's not because of your size why you feel that way. It's not because of your size. Because I've worked also with bigger companies. They're like subsidiaries of large listed companies, right? And they feel like they can't negotiate, for example, with the government on payment terms. So it is not because of your size. This is the point I'm trying to drive home. It is not because of your size why you think you can't negotiate the payment term. Because if it was because of your size, because you think I'm small, I can't negotiate, then company A that's turning over 40 million shouldn't feel that way. Company C that is turning over in the hundreds of millions, subsidiary of listed company, the group is turning over billions worldwide, shouldn't feel that way because they have a huge parent. They should feel like, push out my chest, I can go and get any deal I want. But they also feel that way. So that tells me that feeling is not because of our size. That feeling is not because you are a small business. That feeling is not because you are a one-person shop. That feeling is a paradigm or a philosophy that you have from the experiences of the past that you're bringing into the present, and that if you don't correct, you're going to bring it into the future. That's what it tells me. And therefore, it means that it's just a feeling. It's just this experience that I've had that I'm carrying around with me. It's my baggage, and I can let it go. I can let it go. And I can go to the other party, the counterparty, and say, these payment terms don't work for me, and have that discussion and see what we can come up to, what we can what alternative solutions we can come to together. That is what it tells me. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to, people are going to be like jumping over themselves to give you the best payment terms ever. It doesn't mean that you ask and you're going to get it, but ask the question. Ask the question. You not asking the question is not because of the size of your business. It's because of the baggage that we carry, because we are told you don't negotiate with the big guys, because we are told if you're small, you have no negotiation power. We are told, oh, if you're small, you should just take it or leave it. These are things that we've been told over time, right? That we have internalized, we have made it our story, and so we negotiate according to the story that we keep telling ourselves. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of it as well. So just know that it's not because you're small, because if it was, then big guy A and B would be out here knocking down negotiations like nobody's business. Everybody that I've worked with have some baggage that they're carrying around, that the story that they tell themselves, that impacts the way they do business. And that's it. That's what's happening. So you can negotiate your payment terms, ask the question, be open about it, discuss it, and see what alternative solutions that you and your counterparty can come to together. Because in my experience, I would say 9 times out of 10, they want to work with you. You're the only company who can do this type of work, or they like working with you. They like your personality. They like the value you bring. You bring something that is so unique. That's why they want to work with you. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I used to work with this company, and I was the commercial director there, and we negotiated a huge contract up here with um, big company, right? And we were getting subcontractors. Now there was this subcontractor that we really wanted to work with. The company really wanted to work with this subcontractor. They were nice to work with. They do good work, and you can rely on them. They're dependable, right? And they give you value for money. Now the main contract had some requirements or stipulations in it about the subcontractors, and like the insurances they had to carry, the collateral warranties they had to provide. Like, it had a lot of things that you needed to have to be a subcontractor on this project. And this company A that the company I was working for wanted to work with didn't have one particular thing. The insurances that they had weren't at the level, and the terms weren't where they needed to be to satisfy our employer. Employer in construction, we call the client employer. Okay. But we really wanted to work with them. Now, you would think that company A, would be like, not going to negotiate on the terms because, one, they don't meet that requirement, but two, they're small. You would think that they'll be like, you know what, they're going to, let's just try our best to get this contract and not ruffling the feathers. No. They were negotiating. They came to the table ready to negotiate, right? Which tells me that company, even though they were small, they told themselves a different story. They had a different story. Their story wasn't about, because I'm small, I can't negotiate. Their story was, we bring something special to the market. They were very specialist, by the way. We bring something special to the market. We add a lot of value. We know what we bring to the market, and we're going to negotiate a contract that is right for us. And that's how they came. So you will think that, they would shrink down, not take up space, try and go under the radar. No, that's not what they did. And the company that I was working for was very much keen to get them on board, right? So there are companies out there, there are organizations out there who they want to work with you. They want to work with you. You bring a lot of value to the marketplace. That's the most important thing. And therefore, go with a different story, that the value that you bring is enough, and that you have the right and the power to negotiate terms that are good for you and your business. So the lady's concern was that because she's small, she didn't feel like she could negotiate the payment terms. Like, oh yeah, Patricia, the video was great. What you said made sense, but I don't feel, because of my size, that I can negotiate these payment terms. So I'm saying it's not because of your size. It's because of the story that you've been telling yourself, And you've brought that baggage and that story into the now, and that dictates how you show up and in your business and what you do, and it has influenced how you negotiate your contracts. So what you need to do is tell yourself a different story. Remind yourself of the value you bring. Ooh, this is a good one. Many years ago, there was a man that I know. We're not in contact anymore. We used to work together on construction sites, and he had his own business. And I remember I was talking to him. I was talking to him about business and business ideas and tips. I didn't even have a business then. But I was talking to him about business stuff for some reason. I realized that he had his own business, and I just happened. I think I went to some networking event or something, and he was there. I was just talking to him about business. Anyways, he was telling me about that what he does to remind himself of the value that he brings to the marketplace is sometimes like when the business is low, and the cash flow is low, projects not coming in the way they used to, he would walk around London because his business was instrumental in quite a few of the skyscrapers that we see around London, or like major infrastructure sites in London. He would walk around, he'd just take a day off work, coming to London because he was based in London, and just walk around and look at all the buildings, probably go into a couple of them if they're office blocks, for example, and just remind himself of the value that he brought to the marketplace. And that, he said, would often fuel him to continue on his journey as an entrepreneur and CEO. And his business was fairly successful, but that's what he would do to remind himself, because then after that, he would make better deals. It just kind of leveled the head, steady the hand a little bit, to remind you that you've done good work, and there's more to come. So I hope that answers or gives you some insights into my views on negotiating your payment terms and how I'm trying to come at it as well. Because, like I said, I do have these issues, these fears, these concerns, but I have to remind myself as well, because at the end of the day, you want a business that's going to be here tomorrow. Like, you want to have a business that will stick around to feed you tomorrow and to feed all the people you are employing and to add value to the community. And you can only do that through cash flow. That's just the nature of the game. Only through cash flow. Okay, so I got a couple more questions. I think maybe I have time to do one or two more. And one of them, which is a good one, because I think in my last video I spoke about standard forms and not feeling that you need to stick to the standard form terms. So this question is, should I use standard contract templates, or should I have them customized? Okay. Yes, yes, and yes. You can use standard form templates and not change anything in them. Don't need to change your payment terms, don't need to do, especially if it's like construction. We have lots of industry standard forms, insert big name here, and you can just take it and don't do anything to it, and just fill out the blank where they leave for you to fill out. Just fill out those portions and use it as is, and that is perfectly fine. If you and your counterparty, the other party to the agreement, is in agreement with that strategy, you can do that. There is no requirement for you to go and take that standard form and go to town on it and make endless amendments and change it. There is no requirement. Nothing is written down anywhere that you need to do that. You can take the standard form and just use it as is. So you can also take the standard form and make changes, amend the standard form to suit your project, your requirements, your risk analysis, the balance of risk, the way you want to balance it. You can take the standard form and do that. There are many industry standard form companies that they're always saying, we don't like people doing this to our standard form. Okay. There are many that they say, but people do it. So you can take the standard form and amend it. You can also get something that's written just for you, have it customized, or a bespoke, as we say in the UK, contract written just for you. You can do that as well. That takes more time, because standard form, you just pull it off the shelf, fill out the areas it says you should fill out, finish. Okay. Amended standard form takes a little bit more time, because you have to ensure that the changes you're making make sense as you read through the entire contract, not just that clause or that section, right? Customized bespoke contract is going to take a lot longer, because oftentimes the lawyer is going to be drafting it from scratch. They may have a template that they start with, or some may just draft it from scratch, pulling clauses and putting it together for you. So, which one should you use? It depends on who you are, what you're trying to achieve, the risk profile of your project, complexity of your project, and what your playbook says in your business. Does your playbook say that you need to have these specific terms or these specific clauses, or the contract need to be drafted this way, the balance of risk need to be this way? If you have a playbook that says that, then you're going to have to follow the playbook. Okay, so I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I was brought into a company to do some work for them, some on their negotiate a contract, to draft and negotiate the contract for them. And I went in, I asked them, okay, what's your playbook? They had a playbook. They handed me the playbook, and I had to, and their playbook, because this was a company that was a subsidiary of a listed company. So their playbook was actually given to them by head office, right? So they had to follow it. There was no way that you could go off track of this playbook. In fact, if you decided that you wanted to go veer off the path that was given to you, the process for doing so was just ridiculous, because you had to go all the way to head office, which was not based in the UK. And there's a whole process there to override what's in the playbook. So when I came in, I was given a playbook. I was told, this is the playbook and we can't go off it. There is no way, because the company, the subsidiary, UK subsidiary, didn't want to go through that process. They're like, we just want to follow what's in this playbook. And that's what I had to do. So that meant that the standard form that we had, which the counterparty didn't want to amend, they just wanted to use the standard form as is. But because of this playbook, the company had to follow it, and we had to make changes to the standard form to ensure that it reflected what was in the playbook, which was set down from head office. So at the end of the day, it comes down to, you know, who you are, what you're trying to achieve, what your project is about, the complexity of your project, the risk profile of your project, how you want to balance that risks, as well as if you have a playbook, if the organization that you're working in has a playbook and what that playbook says, then you'll have to follow that, unless you can go off the path. There's a process for going off the path. So so what should you do? I say you need to sit down and think about the project, think about what you're trying to achieve, think about the form of contract, talk to your counterparty if possible, or seek legal advice. That's the best that you can do. And a lawyer will be able to tell you the best form of contract for you, and the terms, if whether or not the terms need to be amended to reflect what you want to achieve on this project. Okay, one final question I'm going to answer right now, and this is a good one. What happens if a contract doesn't have a termination clause? Now that one is, I had an issue like this even just the other day actually, where the contract didn't have a termination clause, and the party wanted to terminate the contract. So if the contract doesn't have a termination clause, you are in the UK, this is for the UK. Okay, if you are not in the UK, you need to go and seek legal advice. And even hear what I'm saying to you, because I have some terms, terms of use that you need to go and seek legal advice. This is not, absolutely not legal advice. So if your contract doesn't have a termination clause and you want to terminate the contract, you can still do so. Your termination clause is going to be determined at common law. So in the UK, we have common law, which is like made up of case law, and years and years and decades and decades upon case law, and what we call common law that's been built. And there's a whole set of guidance that you can get from this, that if you have a contract that doesn't deal with something and that thing happens, then 9 times out of 10 common law will have an answer for you. And therefore, if you forget to put in your contract a termination clause, common law will have an answer for you on how to do that, right? And typically, if you and the other party want to terminate the contract, you come together, you write a notice or a letter saying that you're terminating the contract, and both parties agree to it, and you both sign it, and you terminate your contract. That is the simplest way. I know in practice often it's not that simple, like with the issue that I dealt with, where the other party didn't want to terminate it. One party wanted terminated, the other party didn't want it terminated. The party who wanted it terminated didn't want to finish paying for the work that was done because they weren't happy with the work. The other party who didn't want it to be terminated, they wanted their money, so they didn't want the contract. And that was just a whole dispute that was going on there. Now that's when it becomes complex, because for some reason they forgot to put a termination clause in the contract. And you may be saying, why on earth? How on earth could that happen? You would be surprised what happens out here in the real world. And that is why I say, when you go to make changes to your standard form contracts, you have to read through and ensure that the entire contract makes sense, and not just that part that you are amending. Because sometimes you read through and you will see where it says, pursuant to this, or notwithstanding that, or they make references to the clauses that you're changing. And so when you change a clause, you mess up the whole contract, you change the meaning and the term. This is why oftentimes standard form contract companies come out with announcements, or out articles or interviews saying, stop amending our forms, because it can create issues if it's not done properly. So if your contract doesn't have a termination clause, common law kicks in, and you'll still be able to terminate the contract. So I hope that was good. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And as I said, I'm going to be calling it the office hours, because the feedback was good, and the idea, I really appreciate you for coming through with that idea. And I will answer some more questions next week. If you have any questions, if you watch this video, have any questions or any concern, yes, jump in the DM and let me know, because that's how I get these questions to come back next week and talk a little bit more on just some of the issues that we encounter as business owners. So that's it for today's session of Office Hours with Patricia Haywood. If you found this valuable, make sure you're following me here on LinkedIn, so that we can communicate together. That's all. Not looking anything from you, just a little bit of communication. And if you are listening on the podcast, because I do put these episodes on my podcast, The Construction Contract. If you're listening on the podcast replay, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow business owners. I absolutely enjoy doing these sessions, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.